Hey everyone, I'm so excited to have my friend Akeem here, who is one of our speakers for the Flourish Summit. Hey Akeem.
What's going on, Connie? What's going on?
Oh, always lots going on. And for you too, I follow you. I have to say to everybody before we even start, if you're not following Akeem on Instagram, I mean, and you need a daily dose of encouragement and motivation, he is your guy. So, Akeem, what's your Instagram? Just even before we start.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. It's at Underdog AKH. That's the Instagram. Well, that's the Instagram. That's the Twitter. That's mostly everything. That name, people always ask me, where does that name come from? And it comes from just the mentality. We've all heard the underdog role and things like that. And I think sometimes people say stuff because it sounds cute, like it sounds good. But for me, that's just been how I have approached my life. I've always felt like, you've heard the saying, you got to work twice as hard as other people. I've always felt like I actually had to add six more times to that, right? So I've always felt like I was always expected to not do well from the external parts, but I always expect to do well. And so I always operate in that, which makes me the underdog. And I always work with that mentality. So that's kind of the story behind that.
Oh, that's amazing. And for those who don't know, I mean, you're a two-time Olympian, right?
Yeah, we did okay back in the day. We did we did okay back in the day. Track and field for me, I've always been a dual sport athlete, football and track. I believe God gives us gifts and he gives us talents. And for me, he gave me that talent of athletic ability. And for me, I've always said, whatever God gives me, I got to make sure that I maximize it to the best of my ability. Otherwise, I'm not doing him justice. So I've been gracious enough with hard work, consistency, discipline, getting to two Olympic Games, 2012, 2016, and came away with the bronze medal in 2016. So, while I was in the sport, I made sure that I squeezed out every single juice that I could. And so when I walked away on it on my own terms, I had no regrets. And I think one thing in the sporting field, Connie, is a lot of people don't get the opportunity to walk out on their own terms. Usually, maybe it's an injury, maybe it's a financial reason or something happens. And so I'm grateful that I was able to walk away from it from my own terms because I came into it on my own terms.
That's powerful. I think that when I hear your story, and I'd love for you to share a little bit of background, because I'm always moved by, where you came from Jamaica with your mom. Like, this is powerful stuff, where you've come from and why you have that kind of a mentality. Can you share a little bit with the listeners?
I'm gonna share a little piece because they got to come to the conference for the full deal, right? But in a nutshell, born in Savamar, Jamaica, spent a lot of time in Westmoreland. While Savamar is kind of the city, Westmoreland is kind of the countryside, more relaxed. But we migrated from Jamaica to Canada for a better life. This is where when I was coming up, there was a lot of violence, a lot of things happening, and the city that I was in, there was 98 deaths in 2015, right, alone, and that was the third highest rate, meaning there was two other cities with more, right? So in that time in the 90s, it was just a little bit risen when it comes to those things. So we came to Canada in Yellowknife. Still something I'm still trying to figure out why we picked there.
Yeah.
Uh, but my uncle was in the army at that time, and that was our way into Canada. Back in the 90s, you just needed someone to be somewhere, and you kind of had a pass to go in. And so about 4 years we're in Canada. We moved from Yellowknife to Calgary, and we actually became homeless. Now my mom and I became homeless in the middle of wintertime, minus 22. We were staying at a bus stop with no place to go, nowhere to really call our home. And it was kind of the irony, right? You come to this new country for a better life, and it kind of feels like you're going backwards. And so it was in that moment that I learned a bunch of things that I'll share at the conference. But one of the things that I learned the most was gratitude. It was a dark time in my life at that moment, but I also realized that gratitude comes from within, right? Like it's not really an external thing, right? We see monetary things in this world and we focus too much on what we don't have, and we neglect the things that we do have, right? Because I think so many times we forget that everything that is that we want to aspire to have greatly, whatever it is, it's already inside of us, right?
Mhm.
But we forget that because we look outward instead of internal. The tools and the things that God put inside of us, it's already here. And so I spent a lot of time cultivating my tools, cultivating my skill set. While I always heard the saying, the grass may be greener on the other side. Well, is it? I don't know. I spend way too much time watering my own grass for it to grow to worry about what anybody else's grass looks like. And so from there, I excelled in high school. I had a lot of people who helped me, graduate high school, helped me get a scholarship. And I became the first in my immediate family to get a full athletic scholarship. I went to the University of Alabama, went to my first Olympic Games along that way, went to my second Olympic Games when I turned professional 2 years later. And there's a bunch of ups and downs that you would think would be a cakewalk to the homeless chapter of my life in these last 5 or 6. But all in all, I think every step of the journey for me has created and made me a resilient person. But a lot of things prepared me for life in this season because of the turmoil and the pain in the beginning stages of the season. I went through a lot of adversity and hardships than most people have went through in their 60s. And that's
Yeah.
nothing to brag about. I wouldn't want anybody to have to go through some of the things that I had to go through, but you roll with it, right? Like you roll with it. And I think so many times we try to fight certain positions rather than just rolling with it. So if I was trying to fight upstream, I would have got carried and sucked underneath the wave of the water. But I've learned to flow with the water and try to grab onto the branches and still look at the sunlight along the way.
Oh, that's good. Well, I can't wait for everyone to hear, your full package at the summit. I know it's going to be empowering. I've had you speak at other events and you're always a highlight. People always walk away. There's someone actually who it was years ago at one of our conferences and she remembered you talked about moments.
Oh, wow.
And you remembered that she remembered that you said that hardships are moments and you'll get through your moment. And I thought, isn't that just Akeem to drop bombs that people remember years later? That's a powerful speaker. And so I can't wait to have you. We were chatting before we got on the recording. We were talking about health. And
Yes.
I thought, wouldn't that be fun just for, a pre-interview for listeners? Because a lot of people are starting to ask me about my weight loss journey. And you're obviously an athlete. I still have no clue what I'm doing. I'm just trying to enter a breakdance competition in a couple of years. That's all I want, Akeem. Not trying to go
Yes.
to the Olympics, But
Yes.
can you give us some like health tips? Like how do people get healthy?
Yeah, whenever I think about health in its entirety of the package, I think about mind, body, spirit, right? Because it's the trilogy, right? So you may have two really down pat, but sometimes you can still feel like something is missing and you're trying to figure out where is that coming from, right? So for me, when it comes to the physical side of things, being in sport for all these years, it's just kind of ingrained in me, right? But I understand that a lot of things is just about consistency, right? When you look at, put it this way, Connie, I don't know if you know much about baseball. I know a little bit about baseball, but I'm going to use the baseball analogy. If a pitcher is throwing you the ball 10 times, right? If you hit it once, okay, you're pretty good. If you hit it twice, okay, you are now on the cusp of, man, you're a special player. If you hit it 3 times, you're on your way to the Hall of Fame. If you hit it 4 times, you might as well go ahead and consider you one of the greatest of all times, right? And I only say that because there's 7 days in a week. You don't have to work out every single day. You can just pick your spots, right? You could pick Monday, Tuesday, take a rest Wednesday, work out Thursday, Friday, and then you could still have your weekend, Saturday and Sunday to rest and recover, right? So it's just trying to be active consistently enough and watching what you eat, right? There's nothing wrong with having a day to maybe eat a chocolate bar or maybe eat something, indulge a little bit, but don't overindulge, right? So when it comes to workout, I think a lot of people sometimes make it too hard, right? They stress themselves out. But look, maybe you're in the gym twice a week and the rest of the 2 you're going for long walks, or you're jogging then walking, and you're just doing some high intensity workouts, but you don't have to kill your body each and every single day. Even when I was training at my highest peak as an athlete, I wasn't killing my body every single day. I was picking my spots. So the advice that I would say is pick your spots, right? Another thing that I would do is mark on your calendar a day that you are going to have a pizza, right? A day that you are saying, you know what, I'm gonna destroy this extra cheese pizza on January 27th. Okay, right? That gives you 3 weeks to work out consistently, so you earned that pizza, right? Just because you can have the pizza doesn't mean you deserve the pizza. You got to give yourself and your mind something to work towards, right? Because then you will look at how you approach your workout a little bit differently. You will say, man, if I put in this work Monday, Tuesday, and put in this for the next 3 weeks, that pizza is going to taste a lot more better. You ever notice, Connie, when you earn something, it feels better?
Oh, yeah.
So we should approach workouts just like that. It should be fun. It shouldn't feel like you have to drag yourself there. Now, there are going to be times where you may be a little bit more tired than the other times, but also I think you've noticed along your way too, when you feel tired and you go work out, you feel rejuvenated.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just think it's important to pick your spots and set a date that you are going to have a cheat meal, and you earn that cheat meal so you don't feel guilty when you have it.
Such good advice. And coming from an athlete and hearing we don't have to work out all the time, that is music to my ears. I am so happy to hear that. But, and I love consistency. Pick your spot, be consistent. That's what I found. I just finished 75 days of eating clean.
Wow.
Just finished yesterday.
That's extremely impressive because,
Yep.
hey, I love me some food myself, Connie.
Well, it's funny, at the beginning of the year, I was given a word because I get a word every year, and the word I was given was not the word I wanted, Akeem. It was constraint. Did
Mm,
not want that word. I'm like, can we just pass that word back? You just pass that on to somebody else and give me a
yeah.
better word. But that was my
Yes.
word. And for me, it's like if you constrain for a short season, short, I'm not condoning people do this, but for me, I just had to see if I could do it. And so soon here, I'm going to be adding those once a week, treat
Yes.
myself because of the consistency. I cannot wait, but because I haven't had a pizza in 75 days and I feel like I'm going to die. No.
But you know what's funny is, and this is kind of how I approach, I guess I call it joyful foods, right? Because nobody ever gets angry eating ice cream, right? I've never seen that before, right? But it's also understanding that, you have to be disciplined in your flesh as well too, right? Because I think many people are disciplined in their business, in their workflow, but neglecting certain parts, right? But discipline is a practice habit, right? And it starts with the things that are often easy for us to lose. And so for me, I know that, man, if I could discipline my flesh, if I could say no to the pizza when it's there, if I can say no to this, right? Because if I would have ate what I always wanted to eat, I wouldn't have made it to the games, right? Like I wouldn't have got the medal. Right. So as exactly what you said, sacrifice a little bit at the beginning so you can get the harvest later down the road. Right. Because chances are, you know, our body wasn't made to eat sweets 24/7. That's just not good. Right. But I think it's very important to understand that, when you work towards something, that when you earn it, you'll be so much more happy and, more importantly, proud of yourself because you dug deep and did something that you probably once thought that you couldn't do.
Yeah. No, and I'm experiencing that. You're so right, Akeem. That's powerful. Well, there you go, friends. You've got some free health advice today just from clicking on this YouTube link, clicking on this link wherever I've put it, and we're meant to flourish. We're meant to flourish
Yeah.
in every area of our life. It's actually our birthright to flourish. And so
Mm.
there you go. Akeem, I cannot wait to have you speak. People are going to be blown away. If you need ignition, if you need motivation, if you need activation, if you need just a boost in your life, you cannot miss the Flourish Summit. You cannot miss hearing Akeem because he's gonna motivate you. He's gonna blow you out of the water. And then we're all going to be moving forward into what we are called to be and do here on earth. So thanks for joining me today.
Oh, it was a pleasure, Connie. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to sharing the message, and just to being involved in the atmosphere, because you've done some great things to this date, and God still has so much more He's going to do with you. So I'm just happy to be a part of it. And like I said, years ago when we were at uh, Bob Edwards High School, when we first met and we got together, I said, whatever I can do to ever help, I'll gladly do so. And years later, I'd like to think I'm still a person of my word.
You sure are. You sure are. We've done a lot since then,
Yes, we have.
and it will only continue.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
Akeem.
Kadi.